This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. The home of Kansas City Royals baseball. KMTK FM First, 93.7 The Ticket. This is Bigger Than the Score with Peter Ferguson from Lincoln Public Schools on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right. Well, welcome back to 93.7 The Ticket. This is Bigger Than the Score. This is Peter Ferguson with Peter Ferguson BHS LLC, and joining on the board with Harrison again. Good morning, Harrison. How you doing? July 23rd.
The computer is slow right now, so if you're watching the stream, there we go. Okay.
I was going to say, I think I saw a picture of Simple or something like that. I was like, all of a sudden, I was like, wait a minute. They get enough time on the week, but no, nothing wrong with that. But Harrison's fixing everything, making everything work. But hey, It's another good morning. Kind of not too humid outside, not quite yet. But
yeah, I think enjoy it now. I think I saw some of the meteorologists on Twitter saying it's going to be hundreds pretty much here on out. So enjoy it while you can. The rain's been nice, but we're about to experience what July really feels like pretty soon here.
Well, I think just like the rest of the country. I mean, if you start looking at, every morning on the news, and you just start seeing that heat wave. And so, everybody take care, stay hydrated. Best wishes for those. I know there's some, emergency responders. They kind of get hit during that time as well. And so just, show your appreciation to them and do what you can to kind of lessen their workload a little bit. Go through things. But, like I said, kind of a busy week. It's kind of that, looking like that twist. You got, what is it, the World Cup or qualifier? I can't, but
I think it's just qualifier.
Is it just a qualifier for that? And, it's just kind of that. People say lull in sports, but I don't think it's really ever a lull. It's just you don't have some of the major components. You're kind of getting geared up with football, basketball on the AAU circuit. Kind of they've switched some things around with kind of the viewing periods and what that looks like. So I know a lot of the females are kind of finishing up. They're out in different locations. I think Cincinnati, I saw one, and kind of down south. And then next week there's the boys component coming in. I know this weekend some of the boys are in Kansas City as well doing that. But then you kind of at that, volleyball camps are kind of over. You start to see kind of the elite camps, start to see some offers put out, some people accepting things. And then pretty soon you just turn around and gear up, and, you're kind of back in the midst of things with high school sports. Saw that the Ticket's going to do a full slate of football. I think Nick, kind of announced that and rolled that out, which I think is really cool. I think that's again, credit to DP and Rebecca for just continuing to expand the reach and impact. And it's not just Lincoln Public Schools. I think I heard it was Creed. He's got a Norris game. Pius. I know he was trying to do the Lincoln Lutheran, the sword game, Lincoln Lutheran, Lincoln Christian.
I think that one's up in the air, or it's not going to work out. I think he might still be trying to figure that out. But no, that's awesome. Again, it's just awesome to have Nick around here. I'll give him credit here because I know 80 and Rap just gave him a hard time. But for what he does for the station, no, it's awesome. He's from the Lincoln area, does a great job doing the play-by-play of those games. So again, it's just awesome to have a guy like him around that knows those teams very well, because you can kind of tell when you listen to a play-by-play when the heart isn't there, or they don't necessarily know the team or necessarily understand the culture or care about it, which it's a hard thing to do if you're not from that area. We have Nick. And he has a lot of connections with all the coaches, some of the players even. So he's just going to be able to give us great coverage. And just shout out DP and Rebecca for having talent and be able to keep him here. Because Nick's good enough to where, who knows what his future holds.
I think all of you guys are. And so I think that's a credit to all of you. And so not to discount, what you bring to the table, even though you're wearing that Chicago Bears stuff.
I got it. Someone's got to represent around these parts.
Crying out loud. I mean, I figured, DP would be, dancing. I saw him wearing Commander stuff and ready for the sale. I thought he just had all sorts of gear out here ready for everybody, saying, "Here, celebrate with me. Let's move forward." But it looked like they're talking about another name change too.
Yeah, they rebranded. You think they go back to the football team? That actually grew on me. I like the football team more than I did the Commanders.
I like that. The Washington football team. I mean, it just has a prestige to it.
They won't go with that, but just for thought.
I think the other one I was really pulling for is the Red Tails.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I just, there's history into it. Symbolize some different things. Just kind of the color scheme, even some of the things that they did, they had some like promo stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, man, that would be sharp. But the Washington football team, I mean, it's just, that's where you're at. That's who you are. I'm not a fan as a Cowboys rival, but I will say I would buy some Red Tails gear.
Yeah.
If that ended up being the case.
Yeah, no, it'd be super cool. I think a lot of Washington fans are just kind of a sigh of relief.
Yeah.
That's been going on forever.
I think the entire NFL, is breathing a sigh of relief.
Yeah, well, the Gruden stuff was weird too. How was only Gruden that was ever in those emails? That's a big subject we want to dive into.
Yeah.
But the fact that I wonder if all that's going to kind of he'll more, or if this is all over and it's kind of a sweep it all under the rug. It's kind of speculation here, but with the NFL, you kind of never know.
I think it's a fraternity that, I mean, in some ways you're like, okay, I don't ever want to be in, but then you do. Like, I just saw kind of a listing of, the Cowboys are still, like, I think they're worth $8 billion as the most, prized, financially well off, football franchise. And so with that, but hey, a great week again. I just want to, as I kind of look down a rundown, I do, I'd be remiss. I want to say just thank you. Not only to you, but just the listeners. Each week kind of, there's some things that, it seems like it grows a little bit, and I have people reach out and they're starting to kind of text and say, hey, I have some suggestions for guests, and or hey, I really appreciate what individuals said. I mean, I think about Lila and I want to get their names. Was it Lila and Eva? Last week. I mean, just some of the knowledge that, I mean, they're, here you are, got these elementary and middle school, and they're just bouncing off each other. What I loved about it was, I remember when Lila and them were talking about playing each other, and she's just like, they start fouling. She starts fouling me. But just even the nuggets of, the quotes they dropped, the Alex Morgan quote, and then they went, and you even did a little nice chop up of the
Kobe Bryant quote.
One.
Yeah.
I was just like, wow.
Well, she said that quote, and I was like, it's just kind of awesome to hear, because that quote is popular, but still at that age to understand that quote and then have it hanging in your room is something you kind of live by, because that's something that I always really suffered with, is anxiety, and it took me a long time to get through it, doing some things I didn't want to do, doing swing choir, had to try that for a year, speech did that, and shout out to my mom. She made me do all those things at least once, but eventually kind of lead me to get through my anxiety, and now I'm on the radio for a job. But her at her young age already figured out, it's like, well, I can't be scared of it. Yeah. And for those that can't remember, do you remember the exact quote? If not, I'll have to pull it up real quick.
You said about failing, be okay, failing. But yeah, if you want to pull that up, I think that'd be powerful. And if you've gotten a chance or you've missed a show, you can always go to theticketfm.com. Go to weekends and then just pull down, or you can go to YouTube for any of the ticket content. 93.7 The Ticket, pull that up, and you can watch, weekday shows. You can watch any of the Bigger Than the Score shows. The show that follows us is Fitness Fanatics. Take it in. There's Aloe Fiber. Really want to appreciate them.
Yeah,
they've really supported, Bigger Than the Score, but also The Ticket. Channel 951 in Nebraska, if you have that, and then we're also on Amazon Prime. So I think, like I said, DP taking over the airwaves, the view waves, and whatever waves might be out there. I don't have waves anymore in my head, so he's got to take over those other ones.
Absolutely. And before we kind of preview what we have ahead here, I did find the quote, and again, this is why it was so impressive, and why me and Pete kind of had to pause and get our bearings here a little bit, because she had the quote ready to go and she didn't have anything in front of her. But the quote from Kobe Bryant is, if you're afraid to fail, then you're probably going to fail. And it's short and simple, but it does speak a lot about anxiety. If you're just scared to do anything, if you go in there with intentions of failing, you're scared to fail, that's likely going to be the result. You kind of have to have that level-headedness. And for those guys at that age, again, ticketfm.com. It was a great podcast. Just listen to those two young people kind of speak with that wisdom. It's just powerful stuff. But we got a little bit of time here. Go ahead and preview what we have ahead. I know we got some Wilbur people in here. I'm reminiscing a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say already throwing it out, but like I said, again, always make space in the show where we just want to profile and promote positive youth action and what that looks like, and just in the broad array. I mean, whether it be Lincoln, the greater area, the greater listening area for the ticket, and so it's been kind of cool. Like I actually went to Seward. I think we went to Seward, the friend, and we were out there and we were golfing, and somebody was like, da da da. It's like Pete Ferguson, the Bigger Than the Score, da da da, and listening. I'm like, oh, okay, you know, it's like, oh, I listen to different podcasts, and it's been kind of cool to have different people on, and love the young people. And so really wanted to just kind of take the time and the space to profile. We've got Lincoln Public Schools, but we've had, you know, individuals from Wilbur in the past with the Roadrunner Classic, the CLCs, to, you know, Belmont Community Center, Big Brothers Big Sisters, and just that wide array. And so I feel fortunate, but probably a little bit old, to have a young man on today, from Wilbur, Claytonia, and Grant Coolman, and you know, the roundabout door to college with his dad. And his dad still looks like he did in college. I know, you know, Rand's out here be like, no, he looks like an old man, but the man was, I mean, a bad man, walking the streets of Hastings College. And we'll have him in on the third segment. But, you know, Grant got to know, you know, probably late middle school. And just as an individual, kind of outstanding character, kind of just watched his career, not just on the court, but just seeing things, you know, social media, but also just through his pops and everything, and really just kind of admired kind of who he was, but what he's, you know, about. You know, I think the best is yet to come for him, on just not only just athletically, but also just as a, you know, just as an athlete as well. And I kind of hesitate to say this just because, you know, as a daughter, but I don't say it lightly. He's the kind of person that if he came to your doorstep, you know, and was a partner for, you know, obviously, you'd be okay.
Absolutely.
You know, you'd be okay. And I don't say that lightly. And so just was really excited about having him on, and just kind of him sharing his journey, what it's like being, you know, in Wilbur, you know, Wilbur, Claytonia. A lot of people know, if you're not familiar with Wilbur, check days, you know, that's kind of, we won't go into our experiences there. We've stepped out, but you know, I'm just interested to kind of hear about his personal journey, kind of goals and aspirations, and then just advice that he had, again, for scholars, but also parents as well.
Absolutely. Should be a great show ahead. I'm curious about the check days, because we had that up in our parts too, so we get a little bit of comparison there. But nonetheless, this is Bigger Than the Score. I'm Harrison Starnes, pushing the ones and twos. We got host, as always, Pete Ferguson in studio with us, and we'll have a couple guests coming up forward in the next segment. If you guys want to join the show, Sartor Heyman text line 402-464-5685. And we're streaming on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Allo channel 951. This is Bigger Than the Score on 93. So the ticket.com. We'll be back right after the break.
It's a new era for Nebraska football with a new head coach. Gear up for the season 93.7 coverage of Big Ten Media Days, live from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis on July 26th and 27th. From Amon Green, Vershawn Jackson, Terrell Farley, Derek Pearson, Steve Sipple, and Jake Sorensen will be in for our shows on Wednesday and Thursday. Coverage of Big Ten Media Days is brought to you by Ben Bleicher, a professional BHHS, and that's Gary Michaels Clothiers, Warhorse Gaming, A1 Automotive, and the 1890 Initiative.
The wait is almost over. The Guardians of Freedom Air Show is the hottest event in the area. Coming to Lincoln Air Park on Saturday, August 26th and Sunday, August 27th. Elevate your air show experience with tickets to the premium seating tent, seats, meals, and more for just $125. Premium tickets are going fast, so buy yours today. To purchase premium tickets and for more information, visit linkshow.com. We'll see you at the Guardians of Freedom Air Show in late August.
Some Nebraska believes that volunteers are part of what makes Nebraska great. Each year, this award honors volunteers from across the state who serve their communities in outstanding ways. We join us this year at the Step Forward Awards luncheon on October 27th in Omaha. Help us thank volunteers with a celebration to remember. To register, visit serve.nebraska.gov and click Register Now. We hope to see you there. Serve Nebraska, aired with the Nebraska Podcasters Association and this station.
Vershawn Jackson.
Don't double here. If you had to pass the baton down to the new guy and say, that's the new pipeline, what was that look?
Condition for me, ultimately, is a game changer. I don't care how much you can bench, how much you can squat. If you can start a game and finish a game in the same condition, in the extreme elements, you're going to have to go where they're going. That's what we took a lot of pride in. By my third or fourth quarter, they were dog tired. They knew it was coming at them again. The same it was in the first quarter.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
First, I hold my hands out like they're on a steering wheel. Then I look over my shoulder. Next, I put it in reverse.
This is fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Hey, you got any gum?
Yeah.
What's this?
Oh, that's naloxone. It can reverse an opioid overdose. I decided to always keep it on me after my friend saved his life.
I'm so sorry. That makes me want to have it with me too.
You totally should. Check the pharmacy. It was actually really easy to get, and it's easy to use.
I definitely will. Thanks.
Paid for by the CDC, sponsored by Nebraska DHHS, aired with Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
If you can plan barbecues and weddings, you can plan to protect yourself from a natural disaster. Sign up for local alerts, prepare an emergency kit, and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hey guys, Jake Sorensen here from Early Break, and on behalf of the entire 93.7 The Ticket team, we are excited to announce fall we're teaming up with Husker Extra for the Big Red Brunch. We'll have big names now and the past in Husker sports, and it all starts on Wednesday, August 9th with the Big Red Brunch Golf Scramble at Tiburon Golf Club in Gretna. Sign up to play today at omaha.com and find the Big Red Brunch tab. You won't want to miss this on August 9th at Tiburon in Gretna.
Sometimes I just cannot believe all the storms we've gone through here. I can only hope that we'll be able to leave this house to you one day, baby. You're our legacy.
Planning for these disasters will make sure we're safe, and is the best way to protect that legacy.
Protect your legacy. Visit ready.gov/plan for the tools and tips you need to start your emergency preparedness plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hey, you got any gum?
Yeah. Check my backpack.
What's this?
Oh, that's naloxone. It can reverse an opioid overdose. I decided to always keep it on me after my friend almost died. It saved his life.
I'm so sorry. Have it with me too.
You totally should. Check the pharmacy. It was actually really easy to get, and it's easy to use.
I definitely will. Thanks.
Paid for by the CDC, sponsored by Nebraska DHHS, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
My early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take, but it gave my mom and me more time to plan.
Tell your family about seeing a doctor. Go to elz.org/time to talk. A message from Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Start your Sundays off right with Jeff and Nicole Esnick on Fitness Fanatics. Jeff and Nicole discuss health and wellness, how to achieve fitness goals, and more to life of gym owners and gym goers. It's Fanatics from 9 to 11 a.m. on Sundays on 93.7 The Ticket and ticketfm.com.
Back to Bigger Than the Score with Peter Ferguson from Lincoln Public Schools on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right. Well, welcome back to 93.7 The Ticket. This is Bigger Than the Score. And we're here with Harrison, and this is Pete Ferguson. And as we kind of intro into the we're excited to have. I would say Star young. He's making me feel a little old. I told kind of the age and lineage. But Grant Colton, who is from Wilbur, Nebraska. Good. Wilbur Clayton. Excuse me. I want to make sure I get the full consolidation correct. But welcome, Grant. Glad to have you here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Well, hey, Grant, let's start off. Just tell us a little bit about you. Again, we told you you're from Wilbur, but have you always lived in Wilbur? What does that look like? Elementary, middle school? Where are you at in high school right now?
I was born in Hebron, Nebraska, and then I grew up, spent about 4 years there, and then our family moved to Wilbur, Nebraska, and I did my elementary and middle school and high school, and I've been there ever since.
Okay, and what?
I'll be a sophomore this fall.
Okay, fantastic. So, Grant, tell us, who else is in your family?
I have my mom and dad, and then I have a brother who will be a senior, and then I have a twin sister who will also be a sophomore.
Okay. So, tell us a little bit. Now, you got the mom in. Harris and I always kind of joke around a little bit because we've had some people in here forget mom.
Yeah, you got to get those guys first.
But tell us mom and dad's name for those that might be listening to kind of give them that official shout out. We'll give you permission to call them by their first name right now.
My mom is Angela, and she grew up in Thetford, and then my dad is Lance, and he grew up around Byron.
Okay. And your sister's name, don't want to leave her
Lauren.
Okay, look, you see how he said that? He's like, Lord. Fantastic. So, tell us a little bit. What are you involved in? I know you play football, but what are some things that you're involved in? And we'll kind of expand on that in a little bit.
Yeah, definitely one of the blessings of a small school is you can be very involved. And so I play basketball, football, and track, and then I'm in student council, FBLA, FFA.
And tell a little bit, so those people that may not be familiar, like what's FBLA, FFA? And
FBLA is Future Business Leaders of America.
Okay.
So you'll do like most of the work we do like different charities around around our town. And then when it comes to like competing as an organization, you do like it's, for example, state last year I competed in like there's accounting and business, economics, just kind of the business side of jobs in the career world.
Okay. And so, a little bit, going back to your family a little bit, tell us, your mom and dad, I know your dad, I know your mom as well. And so you are from a family that has been very involved in a variety of things, but also have been involved in athletics. So tell us a little bit about your mom and dad, what you know about their athletic prowess, or what they've shared with you. They probably told you they're Olympians and everything else. So
my dad played football in college at Hastings College, and then he played six-man football at Chester Hubble Byron, which is no longer a school.
So you're saying he closed it down then?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then my mom, her school it got consolidated into Sandhills Thetford, but her graduating class, I think it had single-digit people in it. So.
See, Harrison, I like how he went ahead and like throws that out. He's like, my dad's there. He might be in the Hall of Fame, but the school no longer exists. So he's got nothing on me. And then my mom, single digit classes, like making light of that. And so, no, awesome. And so like, obviously you've had a background and they're familiar with athletics and kind of going through that school place. Tell us a little bit, what is, for those who are listening, like what's living in Wilbur like, or do you live in Wilbur, or the surrounding communities? Just tell us, like, as you're in Lincoln right now, what do you see as some of the similarities, but what do you also see as some of the differences?
Small town communities definitely have a loyalty to them. Like when you see like our high school football games or our high school basketball games, there's people in the community that don't necessarily have a kid involved, but they still show up and they watch because it's a part of their community, and the school is definitely very tied to the community. And then it's very nice to live close to Lincoln because you have all those things about a big city that you can go to in about an hour drive, and it's there.
Awesome. And Harrison, you've experienced that a little bit. I mean, would you say kind of that's some of the things you've seen where, when you were growing up as well?
Yeah. So I wasn't necessarily close to the Wilbur area, but we talked about it before the show. 2016, we got to go play those guys in football for playoffs. And this was a time when the 2016 offensive line that we, on the scouting report on the board, we had called the 1-ton line. That's what we're prepping for because there's some serious talent and size on that offensive line, defensive line. But the reason I say is going up to that game, you wouldn't know that Wilbur was a small town. The entire town felt like it was at that football game. Like we showed up and it was just a sea of green, and it's not like super crazy, facility or anything like that. It's just your everyday field, not super bad, not super great. It's just right average, but man, that place was packed. Like for just I think it was maybe the first, second round of the playoffs for C2, keep in mind. And that place was rocking. So I believe when he says that the whole community shows up for those events.
Well, when you talk about like that investment from a community standpoint, like why does that make you want to be involved? How does that spur people like you, Grant, but also just your peers to be like, okay, I've got to be a part of this community in some way or the other in a positive way?
You definitely know that you have support from many people in the community, which keeps you going. And I wouldn't say there's pressure, but there's a little bit of pressure to, to put on for your community and do something that makes your community proud. But yeah, I definitely say you always know the community support is there.
Well, I think also you said like pressure, but maybe some accountability,
Yeah,
to carry it on and to kind of just represent not only for, the name that might be on the back if they put the names on the jersey on the back. I know a lot of high schools don't do that, but like in the front, like you're representing for the class of 1975 just as well as you're representing for the class of 2023. So what else, you said you're multi-involved. And so I want to ask you about that. Why is that important? You said, obviously being in a little smaller community, you get that opportunity to do that, but why is that important just in general for young people to be multi-involved and not just kind of maybe on a singular track?
I think it prepares you for your future. It definitely, having a packed schedule, but still being able to manage your time well and get your homework and different things done while having a packed schedule is definitely important. And then like at a small school, you have to be involved. Otherwise, different things, if you don't have enough people involved, then the program gets shut down. But and then there's skills you can develop for life. Like I participate in speech, and that definitely has helped me speak in public a little bit better for sure.
So what was your event? What was your genre in speech that you crushed this year?
I do extemp in speech. It's kind of on the political side, but I wouldn't say I can't write a super long speech and then have to memorize it, but I'm good at procrastinating. So drawing my topic and then getting 30 minutes to an hour to write on it and then presenting it to a judge. That's the topic that appealed to me, and that's the topic that I did.
Awesome. When you think about that, like you said, that that procrastination, people always tell me, is there a life skill or whatever that you have? And I would always tell people that's definitely one that you'll want to take with you. So I'd say you grow out of it, but I'm still working on it a little bit on that end. Hey, tell us a little bit you talked about your parents, but tell me a little bit about some mentors that you've had kind of as you've gone through, whether, just your life up to this point, people that have stood out.
I definitely say two big mentors for me are our high school football coach and then our high school basketball coach, Coach Conway and Coach Durgans. They've both pushed me throughout my athletics career to be the best that I can be. And then they're always encouraging, but they never let me be satisfied with where I'm at. And they always show me that I can be better.
As you're talking about that, what are, they've pushed you and they've kind of, instilled in you that you can always be a little bit better. What are some characteristics that they have that when, you're maybe talking to other people about what they should be looking for in a mentor? What are some characteristics that they have that kind of really stand out to you?
Our basketball coach, Coach Conway, I would definitely say he's gotten on me a lot, and he's going to get on you, and he's going to be hard on you. But at the end of the day, knowing that he's your biggest fan and that he's always going to be there to support you, I feel like that's one of the biggest things.
And what about your football coach?
Our football coach, he does a great job of building a program and just building that success and that culture that our football program has, and getting kids to go out who they may not play. They may play their senior year, but they love being a part of the program, and they love being a part of that team.
I think too many times people talk about what's your role? And I think it's talked about inclusion and belonging. And so making an environment that everybody feels they may not necessarily have the role that they want or a role, but there's an inclusiveness and there's a belonging aspect to what goes on. And obviously you talked about that. That's important. One, because of numbers, but two, just because of the nature of the community. So it's great to hear that. Tell us a little bit about just, I know, you're starting kind of, I would say midway in kind of your high school career and what that might look like. But I also know kind of, you've had a little bit of adversity, just physically. And so what does that look like for you when you face some adversity? What is that? How has that transpired for you? And then to be perfectly honest, how have you overcome to get where you're at today?
I'd say definitely, don't be afraid of failure. Failure isn't always a bad thing. You have to fail to succeed. And then something my dad has always told me is be comfortable being uncomfortable. So not being successful isn't necessarily a bad thing. if you just keep working at it and you just keep getting better, you'll eventually be comfortable.
You talked about that just failure. We had that quote on earlier with
Right.
Kobe Bryant from last week. What is that? And I don't say look like, what does failure look like, but more so, what are some techniques that you could, if you're talking to an elementary school or a middle school, athlete, that they can use to address failure?
I would probably say that, just like in a team sport, like, for example, if you get benched because someone's better, don't necessarily make that about yourself.
Right.
Make it about the team and think that's what's best for the team, and moving forward and support your team, but then also just continue to work on your individual skill development.
I think that's important. I think sometimes we lose that perspective. And I like how you said it. Sometimes somebody might be better,
right?
And sometimes somebody might be giving something that you're not able to give, and it's for the betterment of the team or the betterment of the organization. Doesn't make it any easier. Because I've been in that boat and been in that situation. And Harrison's nodding his head. I mean, that is sometimes it's the hardest thing to do. So I appreciate you giving some just advice to individuals early on, because they're going to face that as they come forward. Give me a little bit of just like, what is some advice? And you talked a little bit about it with your basketball and your football coach, but what's some direct advice that you've been given that you kind of still carry with you today? You might have gotten it in kindergarten, or you might have gotten it last week. What's some advice that you've gotten that you're like, man, I'm going to hold on to this?
I'd probably say a story from my grandpa. We were fencing with him. Me and my brother were fencing with him, and
now, you said fencing. Now, is that the sport, or is that putting up a fence for some of us that may not, Harrison's laughing at me. Like, I'm sitting there going like,
he runs a cattle ranch up by Valentine, Nebraska.
Okay.
And so my brother and I were fencing for him, and it was probably 2 or 3 o'clock. It was super hot, and I was tired of it. So we were supposed to dig him. I think it was 3 feet deep, and I probably dug mine at 1.5 feet. And so I stuck the fence post in and tamped it in. And then my grandpa came over there to check it, and it was terrible. It was really wobbly. It wouldn't secure anything. But then he told me after that, he just looked me in the eyes and he said, if something is worth doing, it's worth doing to the best of your ability.
Wow.
And so that's always kind of stuck with me, because he told me that from a young age. And so, yeah, I'd say that.
So if somebody's looking at Grant, okay, somebody's looking at you, what's the thing that you do to the best of your ability each and every time they engage or they see you?
I would definitely say, like, just listen and just have a conversation with people, because I mean, there's some people that they just want to be heard, or they just want to have someone to talk to. And so probably say that.
Wow. Powerful in itself. Hey, we're going to go to a break here on 93.7 The Ticket, Bigger Than the Score, but we'll be back again with Grant, and then we're going to actually bring his dad in from the school that no longer exists. He's a Hall of Famer in so many ways, but we just aren't able to find the trophy or anything. But we'll go ahead and put out an APB. But we'll be back after this break on Bigger Than the Score on 93.7 The Ticket.
Sunday morning. It's quiet, not in a weird, too quiet way. Calm, peaceful, tranquil. You pour yourself that cup of coffee. You slice yourself a hearty chunk of one of Beatrice Bakery's breakfast breads. Now, maybe you're an apple streusel guy. Nothing wrong with that. I can respect that. Personally, I'm a turtle nut man. Something about those pecans. But the real ones know, don't sleep on that date nut bread. Sweet, but not too sweet. Nutty, not overly. The perfect morning treat. Beatrice Bakery. Online at beatricebakery.com. Welcome to our world of yum.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends, surprise parties, camps, birthdays. The same way you plan for the important moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council. Their spouses, surviving spouses, and Gold Star parents, your fellow veterans and their families at one of our homes in Bellevue, Kearney, Norfolk, or Scottsbluff. With a sliding scale to determine your financial contribution, an excellent clinical team, and plenty of fun activities, our homes are the perfect retirement choice. Learn more at veterans.nebraska.gov/homes. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Getting experience to jumpstart a meaningful career can be difficult, and education can cost a fortune. Luckily, AmeriCorps can be the solution. With AmeriCorps, you'll earn a stipend and education award while helping people. Plus, you'll gain professional skills and make connections to help you build your career. If you're ready to start a career you can be proud of, visit serve.nebraska.gov/service to find a program for you. Paid for by Serve Nebraska, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Start your Sundays off right with Jeff and Nicole Essink on Fitness Fanatics. Jeff and Nicole discuss health and wellness, how to achieve fitness goals, and more through the life of gym owners and gym goers. It's Fitness Fanatics from 9 to 11 a.m. on Sundays on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. You don't think about your roof very often, but you should never take it for granted. Roofing Service Company takes every measure to provide you with the high-quality roofing solution. Whether it's a new roof installation, roof repair, or a re-roofing project, their overall goal is to provide you with a pleasant experience and a long-lasting roof. If you have a need for siding or gutters, they're your place too. Visit roofingservicecompany.com for more info today.
This is your captain. We are going to be experiencing some slight turbulence. Please fasten your... Oh, hold on. Just got a video of my cat.
Imagine the pilot of an airplane was as confident as you are texting and driving. Seems kind of crazy when you put it like that.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Hey, moms and dads, bring the whole crew to a Salt Dogs baseball game and unleash the fun. Visit Market Park all summer for fireworks Fridays, souvenir Saturdays, Sunday family fun days, and more. With 50 games, even weekdays can be unforgettable. Planning an event? Make it a home run with group discounts. When you need an outing the whole family will enjoy, unleash the fun with the Salt Dogs. 402-474-2255 or visit saltdogs.com for tickets.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 a.m, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill the journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, you got any gum?
Yeah, check my backpack.
What's this?
Oh, that's naloxone. It can reverse an opioid overdose. I decided to always keep it on me after my friend almost died. It saved his life.
I'm so sorry. That makes me want to have it with me too.
You totally should. Check the pharmacy. It was actually really easy to get, and it's easy to use.
I definitely will. Thanks.
Paid for by the CDC. Sponsored by Nebraska DHHS. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Back to Bigger Than the Score with Peter Ferguson from Lincoln Public Schools on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, well, welcome back to 93.7 The Ticket, Bigger Than the Score. Just had a drop in from DP. Always good to see him and everything that's been moving and shaking. Harrison, if people want to join the show, how can they get in touch with us?
Yeah, absolutely. You can join the show through the Starter Heyman text line, 402-464-5685, or streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Allo channel 951. And great way to put a face to the voice and also comment on those streams as well.
Awesome. Well, hey, that being said, we're back here with Grant Coleman, and then we also have his father from the now exactly. He's a Hall of Famer. Yeah. He's on the wall at his school, but the school no longer is now an artist studio, from my understanding. But Lance Coleman from Wilbur. So welcome. Glad to have you back again.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Awesome. Well, hey, Grant, I want to kind of go back to a couple things, that you were talking about. You were talking about advice that you received. And something we always ask every week, the guests that come in, what is some advice that you would give to your peers? So, whether it be, peers at Wilbur, but what is some advice you would give to individuals? I usually say, kindergarten to 18, that kind of would move them forward in a good way.
Some advice I'd give them is obviously the lesson I got from my grandpa to always do something that you're going to do to the best of your ability. But then something that I regret maybe not doing is to live in the moment and enjoy the moment, enjoy it while you're there, because it'll go by fast. And soon enough, like my brother's going to be graduating this spring, and I can't remember not having him in the house with me. So.
I think that's a great point. I mean, I think as a parent, and we'll talk to your dad here in a minute, but Harrison, like there's so many times that we get so caught up in, what does the future look like? What does the future look like? And the future can't happen if you don't do now. and I was guilty of that with my daughter. It's like, man, I just can't wait till this happens, or I can't wait till this happens. And, now you asked me before, you're like, what is she doing? And I think you asked me just out of curiosity, not for, you wanted to know if she'd go to homecoming or anything like that. Otherwise I'm gonna have to come find you. But in all seriousness, it's over. She's finishing up her final year, and it's like, wow. And so now you have memories, and that future is going to look very different. So great advice. With that being said, and your dad's sitting here, I'm going to ask you this. What advice do you have for parents? And I want you to be truly authentic of just, what is that advice that after kind of experiencing in the years of life that you've had, that you would be like, man, I wish every parent knew this?
At a lot of basketball games, you'll see the parents that think their kid is LeBron James. And I'd say definitely just be honest with your kid and where they're at, and then just be straight up with them. And I mean, don't tell them something they're not.
And like, how would you do that? Because I think that's, I always kind of say it's nice to hear, but like for you, how would you want to hear like the truth?
I mean, I'd keep your kids, keep them humble. I mean, there's always people out there that are going to be working harder than you, or people out there that are going to be a little bit better than you. And so just to make sure your kids always know that there's more that you can achieve, and that they're not at their best, and they can continue to get better.
Wow. I think, Harrison, it's kind of funny because when we sit in here and we ask this question each week, we've heard a lot about just being truthful with your child, or just taking it in and letting them be them.
Yeah, I think it means a lot. I think most kids, at least that was for me. I think you kind of get a sense of when your parents are sugarcoating it a little bit, and you do get to a certain age at high school when you kind of pick that stuff up. So what he's saying, I feel like at that high school level, there really isn't any need to sugarcoat it. There's like humble the kid, but not in a way that's demeaning, just in a way that's like, hey, if you like this sport, this is where you are. If this is where you want to go, let's work on that, Right. But right now, I'm just not going to tell you they're there. That's just sugarcoat and lie. And at that point in age, you're going to be able to read that, I'd imagine.
Well, and Lance, being the father, of a number of scholars, but we're going to speak on Grant here today. Tell us a little bit of just about what your parenting experience has been like with having him in the household.
He touched base on it earlier as far as, I've been telling the kids for a long time to be involved and to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's how you grow. That's how you learn. That's for you and me, right?
Right.
I mean, now even being comfortable with being uncomfortable, challenging yourself. But, when we get done with games, I try to tell the kids, you guys need to be accepting of constructive criticism. That's how you grow. That's how you get better. I'm going to give you a lot of the positives, because there's always positives. There's always a ton of things that they did well, but what are some things we can improve on, and touching base on that, instead of, trying not to be that parent that's picking out all the negatives,
right? But
then try not to be that parent that's also sugarcoating things all the time too. You got to be true with your kids. Kids are smarter than you think they are. I coach football too, and boy, kids pick up on things pretty quick. So.
One of the things is kind of, you talked a little bit about that. What's been a struggle? Like what's the hard part? Because everybody's like, there's these joys and there's these opportunities and successes, but what's been a piece that you've been like, man, this has been really, really hard not to say something, or not to go ahead and show them all my
the struggle is probably him and his brother. His brother's 2 years older. He's going to be a senior, and those two have had some battles. But giving a shout out to Ty is I think that's what has made Grant better. I mean, Grant's always been running around with him and his buddies, and they're 2 years older, and they're always pushing him. And being accepting of the competitive nature in both of them, and how, I mean, they're perfectionists, and that's a good thing. But along with that comes some challenges too, when things don't necessarily go the way you want them to. So letting that competitive nature play its role is sometimes challenging, but I think it's important too that you let it play its way out.
Awesome. So Grant, tell us a little bit, you've got your dad here. What's something that you've taken from him that you're just like, as you've watched him day in and day out, or as he's talked to you, that you're like, I feel blessed to have him in my life?
I'd say probably his work ethic. He goes to work at 6:30. He gets home at 4. And for example, during football season, then he goes to practice for 2 hours, and then he'll make supper, or my mom will make supper, but then like he's always willing to have a conversation with you. He's always there. I mean, he works long hours, and he's always busy, but he'll always make sure he'll find a time for you, and he'll be there for you, and he'll support you.
What's that like? Because we didn't speak on it, is him being a coach. How is that? I mean, it's a unique experience, and we've had some other individuals in here that have been in that kind of similar situation, and they've been honest. Some have said, like, there's been really truly blessings to it, and some have mentioned, there's some challenges at times. So tell us, what is that like?
To experience your athletic career with, for example, with my dad, has been a blessing. I've really enjoyed it, but there's also been some times where we've butted heads, or we haven't necessarily gotten along real great.
Right.
But I've really enjoyed it. I think it's been a blessing. So,
Lance, what's that experience been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge. So in football, I've coached about everything except for quarterbacks, but and was at that 2016 game. That was a great game, wasn't it, against Hartington Sierra County?
Yeah, it was memorable. I'll say it's memorable. I don't know.
He's looking at Harrison. He's like, yeah, I remember you. You had your back. We were down on the 40-yard line. Harrison's like, yeah, that was awesome.
No, coaching your own kids is Les Hill is from Thayer Central. He was a long time Thayer Central coach when I coached there, and we've always kept in touch. No longer coaching, but he isn't. But I continue to coach and coaching my kids, and it is a challenge. But he told me, he says, enjoy the process. Was the main thing that he gave me, is enjoy the process, and that really resonated with me, as I need to step back and just take each day as it comes and appreciate those, because we look forward to the future. You said it earlier, we look forward to the future too much, or what that's going to look like, but just enjoy the process and watching them grow. So, like in football, what I did is Coach Durgan's helped facilitate this with me, as far as, maybe not coaching him in both positions.
Right.
Because I was, coaching O-line and then coaching D-ends. And so now I'm just coaching D-ends, and I kind of step back and I'm coaching running backs, and believe it or not, Grant's not a running back. So, so that's worked out. So he gets some space from me. I get some space from him, but they also have to know, that I'm probably going to be harder on them.
Right.
And I think that's the only way it can be. And that happened this week in football camp. I might have yelled at him a little louder than I yelled at some other guys.
Okay. Well, I always said it's because their name. Like my wife was like, well, why do you keep it? Well, like their name is all over everything. I know who they are on a regular basis. So that's the one that comes out on a more, on the regular.
Yeah. And we try to keep that, he's got to remember I'm coach on the field.
Yeah.
Not dad. I'm coach. And so and then having those discussions after, I remember as youth basketball coach with him, I also told him, I may yell at you to rebound, but it may not be you.
That's but said you don't file the same lawsuit that somebody else does.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or after the game. No, completely understand. So Grant, tell us a little bit, just what's some future aspirations that you have?
I would like to play collegiate sport for sure.
Okay.
Whether that's basketball or football, I don't really know yet. Probably leaning a little bit towards football, but and then some academic ones. I'd love to be a valedictorian, salutatorian in my class, and then obviously to probably get a full scholarship into college. That way, my parents and I don't have to pay for stuff. My the rest of my life as far as loans.
Yeah, look, Dad's he's up here pumping his. He's like, there you go.
Go for
See,
it.
that's all right. We went to school together, spelling valedictorian, salutatorian, and all those things. You sit there. I see Phil Maynard go ahead and he put it on the text line a little bit. He wanted to know, Lance, by the way, he said, did Coach Trader ever have to humble Pete?
I believe I heard it a time or two when I was in the weight room. We could hear it up above.
Yeah, well, I was one of the only basketball players, Harrison, that visited the weight room on a regular basis. So I mean, I had to put that out there. You know, Lance, what are some goals and aspirations not only that you have for, you know, like I said, Grant here, but just your entire family? You know, what are your hopes and dreams for your entire, you know, your whole tribe, so to speak?
You know, just good character and good values, morals, holding on to that, you know, your strong moral compass and values wherever you go. You know, our oldest is looking at schools outside Nebraska, you know, a little further away, and just being true to yourself and who you are and how we raised you, and being good to people. You know, there's a lot of negativity in this world.
Yeah.
So if you can go out and make your positive influence on the world, and, you know, as far as being in school and what they are now, is we just want our kids to be well-rounded, you know, and being challenged in multiple areas. You know, my wife's big into music, and so she's got this rule for them. They may not be a big fan, but they've either got to go out for band or they got to go out for vocal.
Okay.
They can do both if they want, which
There
she
you
tries
go.
to talk Grant into,
Yeah.
but you know, just being well-rounded that way. You know, they're out for speech and FBLA, FBFFA. Go out and be leaders. Do the best you can in everything you do, and give your best effort. And, you know, he touched base on it earlier, and you guys have touched base on it. You're going to fail sometimes.
Yeah.
And there's multiple quotes out there. Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan talks about how many shots he missed.
Yeah.
You know, in crucial times, and yet that's why he succeed, because he's willing to take that risk. So, yeah, I guess that's what.
Well, and I think you talked about the negativity, but also you've got aspirations. DP calls them love prints.
Yeah.
You know, that you
Yep.
want them to go out and
Yep.
to do that. And Sam Stretcher always talks about being a signal booster.
Yep.
And so them not only just taking it with themselves, but also taking it to that next step. Hey, Grant, you know, as we kind of get ready to wind up a little bit, you're going to get 30 seconds. Okay. 30 seconds. You got your speech, you know, you're writing your speech here. I want 30 seconds on what you tell your younger self.
Whatever you do in life, just do it to the best of your ability and be a good person and have fun while you're doing it.
Fantastic. Hey, Grant, really appreciate you. Looking forward to your sophomore season. Lance, always good seeing you. And thanks for, like I said, guy looks no different than he did in college, Harrison. I kid you not. I kid you not. The gray's coming in, but he used to dye that. Hey, but with that, always just a closing quote from Simone Biles, the artist gymnast. Don't wait until you've reached your goal to be proud of yourself. Be proud of every step you take towards reaching that goal. And so as you're doing that, as you're taking steps this week, make sure you celebrate and affirm yourself and continue, as DP always says, put those love prints out there. Till next week on 93.7 The Ticket, bigger than the score. We'll see you soon.